What's going on? Thanks for joining me for this very special ride-along video. The reason why this ride-along video is special is because it's my very first video in this brand new Subaru STI. That's right, after I posted my last video and I reviewed my friend's 2019 Series Gray STI. I weighed all of the options and here I am in my own 2020 STI. So obviously, I'm super excited, but in the interest of not making this video completely self-indulgent, I actually want to go over all of the reasons why I chose this car instead of waiting for next gen. It doesn't mean that I feel the need to justify this purchase. It's just that I know that there's a lot of people out there that are having the same thoughts, whether to wait for the next gen, to go for this gen, or what to do. So I wanted to share with you my train of thought and the reasons why I chose this car. This is actually the base model. Of course, there's going to be a lot of videos, install video, review videos, so on and so forth on my channel on this car. Before I get started, I do want to pose a question, and that's, what do you hope the next STI engine is, right? I know that there's some rumors out there that it's going to be a 2.4 liter engine that's in the Ascent. Other rumors that it's the hybrid, that it's going to be a joint venture between Toyota and Subaru, like the BRZ. So there's a lot of rumors out there. As far as I know, there's nothing concrete. So have you heard of something concrete? If you have, let me know in the comment section, or let me know what you hope to get out of the next gen STI. So let me get right to this video. All right, very first thing that I'm going to mention is familiarity. This is very important to me because having had the 2017 WRX, I'm very familiar with this platform, with this car. You know, I know where all the bolts are, I know how to remove the panels and do all that stuff. So that's definitely a plus in my book, that I don't have to relearn any of these things. That means that I can actually hit the ground running. When I start doing mods to this car, I'm already going to know what to do. I know that's not going to resonate with everyone, but it's something that I definitely considered. Next reason why I chose this car is availability of parts. As stated before, this engine's been around since 2004 in this car. So it's a very known engine that has just an infinite number of parts. If you want to buy, you know, a downpipe headers, you have choices. You don't have to just pick out of one or two. You can go to many different companies that have available parts for the car. So that's really huge for somebody who's trying to build a car. If you're just trying to buy the car and write out your warranty and not do anything to it, then that might not be that important to you. If you're trying to make something more than what the car was when you bought it, then that's kind of important. When you have a car that just got released, well, obviously parts are just not going to be available. The manufacturers have to get a hold of the car. You know, they have to start designing things to the specifications of that new car. It takes time. And to go along with that, if you install parts for power in this car, you're obviously going to want your tuner to know what the heck they're doing, right? And I know tuning a car is tuning a car. However, experience obviously has a huge impact on the quality of your tune. You can tune a car all day long, but if you don't know the car, if you don't know the platform, you might be doing damage to the car through the tune that you don't even realize you were doing, and that might not manifest until tens of thousands of miles down the road. Again, this is something that's going to impact people who are trying to mod the car for power. And to go along with that, knowing the weaknesses of the car. That's another thing that takes time. That's why they say that it's better to get a car near the end of its generation versus the beginning. We know all of the weaknesses of this car. Over the years, people have suffered and have tried to figure out solutions to these problems. Things like ringland failure. The PCV system in this car is flawed, and it's flawed to such an extent that if you don't do something about it right off the bat, you can end up having oil consumption issues and power issues because you have oil vapors that are going back into your intake, and they're fouling up everything along the way. Knowing these things come with time. So when you get a car like this, it's a smart thing to do to get an AOS, right? An air oil separator, or to get a catch can. The FA20 engine WRX, that car is a direct injection engine, right? So if you own that car, you might be dealing with carbon deposit. These are issues that manifest over time, and then you start developing solutions to these issues, right? And you don't want to be the guinea pig having to figure out the hard way that there's a major flaw that you should have fixed from the get-go. Do you like the Subi rumble, the boxer rumble? That rumble is caused by unequal length headers, and more than likely next gen is not going to have that. It's an inefficient design that has its flaws and its problems, but it does have that characteristic rumble that we all love. You cannot get that with the FA20 engine because it has equal length headers. This car, however, does have that rumble. If you want that rumble, even for a while before you end up adding tons of power and then eventually maybe replacing the unequal length headers with equal length headers, this is it. This is going to be the one generation to get that Subi rumble. Otherwise, moving forward, more than likely, there will be no unequal length headers on these cars, and that rumble will be gone. If the next gen does end up having that 2.4 liter engine, that's a direct injected engine, right? And even if it ends up being a different engine, there's a good chance that whatever engine it's going to end up in that car is going to be a directly injected engine. And the reason is the manufacturers are going to these engines because by injecting fuel directly into the cylinder, they can really control fuel delivery to that cylinder. It lowers the temperatures in the cylinder, and it increases power, and in turn it increases the miles per gallon of the car. However, you have a very nasty side effect of those directly injected engines, and that's that you don't have that cleansing effect of having that fuel cleaning the intake valves on its way into the cylinder. So because you don't have that, what ends up happening is over time, cars that are directly injected suffer from really bad carbon deposit problems, right? So people with the FA20, like I said before, with the FA20 engines, they're starting to see that. There are things that you can do to mitigate that problem, but again, it's a problem nonetheless. So if you have any reservations at all about a directly injected engine, then that's something that you can consider, something that I considered. Obviously, after the fact, you can always walnut blast your valves to clean them and restore power, but it's something that I just don't want to deal with in an STI. And the next reason is probably one of the most important. And as I mentioned before, the first year of a generation, it's going to be where all of the flaws in a car kind of come to light. And to illustrate that, I'm going to superimpose in post the TSBs for a 2015, which is the first gen of the FA20 engine. So on the left, I'm going to put all of the TSBs for that car so you can see how many issues came up with that car versus a current year, say 2019, 2018, even 2018, right? Obviously, once thousands of cars are on the road, problems are just going to come to light. Either the manufacturers didn't account for, they didn't test for, or they just didn't have the proper sample size for something to just manifest. So all of these problems start happening to these brand new cars. This is all manufacturers, by the way. This is not just a Subaru thing. So people start bringing these cars to the dealers for issues. After so many people take the cars in, Subaru says, okay, well, this is a known current problem, so let's put out a TSB, and the technical service bulletins are for the dealers so that they know how to fix a certain problem, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm not talking specifically about recalls here. I'm talking about just issues in general. There may be little issues, but there are issues nonetheless. So the thing about TSBs is that once the TSBs come out for, say, the 2015 WRX, well, the 2016 WRX are going to have those fixes made from the factory, right? If you buy a 2016 WRX, more than likely, most of those issues that were addressed via TSBs or any other known issues that the manufacturer may have discovered, even if there's no TSB for it, is going to be applied to the 2016 model. Same thing with the STI. So this car right here is directly benefiting from all of the issues from all of the cars, the STIs that came before it. There are improvements here that happened over the years that those early adopters of the car did not have the benefit of having. And the final thing that I'm going to mention, the final reason, is the fact that once that new generation comes out and they stop selling the current gen STI, it'll be impossible to get a brand new current generation STI, right? I don't like buying performance cars used. I wouldn't want to. I want to have the car from breaking. I want to know that the parts were installed properly, and I want to know that the car has good tune, so on and so forth. Once that new car comes out, you will not be able to get this car new. You'll be able to get them used, of course, but you won't be able to get them new. So if I made a big mistake and I realized, oh crap, next year or the year after, whenever the next gen comes out, and I'm like, wow, that's an incredible car, really, really, really want it. Well, I can always get that car, right? I can always either trade in this one or get it, or whatever the case might be, if I'm in a financially good enough position to do that. But you can do the opposite. Because honestly, I just don't know what that next car is gonna look like. And it's not just the performance aspect of it that I'm interested in, right? So I like to have a car that looks good. This car, to me, is a car that looks good. And I talked about this in my review video. I love the way that you can just look all the way around and you feel like you're in a glass, house in this car. I don't know if next gen STI is gonna be that way. Or it can even be an exterior thing where the car may look like, I don't know, the Honda Type R. I just don't like the way that car looks, right? You can say whatever you want to say about the performance of the car, it's great, but I don't like the way it looks. If the next gen STI is something like that, where I just don't like the way it looks or the way it makes me feel when I sit inside of it, then I'm gonna be really thankful that I went for this generation STI and that I built it up to that point, because now I have a car that I really like and enjoy, and I can just move on. So that's it. Those are all of the reasons why I got the 2020 STI versus waiting for next gen STI. If you want to wait for next gen, that's great. I think it's going to be a great car regardless. But because there's so much unknown right now, for all of the things that I mentioned, for me, it was a great decision to go with the 2020 STI. You know, I have 163 miles right now on the odometer, so I'm still well within the braking, which, by the way, that's going to be my next ride along video. I'm going to talk about the car braking. But as you can expect, if you have looked around my channel, there's going to be a lot of stuff to come on this STI. So again, let me know in the comment section what you hope the next gen STI is going to be like, or if there's anything that you would absolutely hate to see in next gen STI. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. If you like the video, make sure you give it a like, and I'll see you next video. Take care.